So the book, People's History of the United States, what's the message of it and why is it wrong?
Well, the message is that the country was settled in order to, out of greed. That begins with Christopher Columbus and then the slaughter of the Native Americans, and that the government was set up in order to protect the wealthy class, and that the middle class was established simply as what Zinn calls a buffer against the oppressed masses so they don't rise up and try to overthrow the government. He says that it was a very clever system, you know, it was conspiratorial.
Those are no question communist ideas.
Absolutely.
They really are.
Well, actually, when I wrote my book, I compared it to William Z. Foster's. You know, he was the chairman of the Communist Party USA. He wrote a book in 1951 called Political Outline, History of the Americas. And I put those books side by side, and oh yeah, and
Wow.
also with the Communist Manifesto, of course.
Well, so what are some examples of the twisted history that he presents? You mentioned Columbus, and frankly, I think a lot of people that are my generation or older wonder, why in the world is Columbus a bad guy? We always grew up thinking Columbus was an explorer, a discoverer, he really is a part of our history, and now all of a sudden he's become horrible and a bad guy, and you can't say his name and we can't celebrate his holiday. What was the message there?
Well, the message was that he came here out of greed and that he committed genocide on the natives out of greed for gold because he was motivated by capitalism. And Zinn presents that false version. What he does is he selectively quotes from Columbus's journals. And so if you look at what Columbus really says, he wants to convert the Indians. He was on a Christian mission, and he was doing this actually out of the goodness of his heart. He wanted to bring the gospel to them, and but Zinn twists it around and makes it appear by leaving out a lot of words that you know, Columbus wanted to just enslave them. And so the roots of this country are built on that initial discovery. So right at the beginning, from the very beginning, it's rotten. That's what Zinn wants his readers to believe.
So you have to throw the whole history and story of the United States into the rotten pile.
Right, it's rotten to the core. There's no way to reform it. You know, efforts to abolish slavery were of no effect. Giving women the vote, child labor laws.
How about fighting evil in Adolf Hitler?
We were as bad, maybe worse than the Nazis, according to Howard Zinn. Yes, he actually uses the work of a Holocaust denier as a source when he claims that 100,000 were killed in Dresden. And so there's a line in his book where he says that fascism is in our bones and that we were just as bad because there was racism here, just as there was in Nazi Germany. So he makes these false equivocations.
Wow. So you decided you're going to write a book. You hate the impact of communism and how it's hurt, and then the Alexander Hamilton Institute for the Study of Western Civilization gave you a place to do that, and you've produced this amazing book. I mean, because you go through line by line of Zinn and tear it down.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, and I had a place to write this, and I was surrounded by historians, and so it was an excellent place to write this. And what I wanted to do was to go beyond the fact that Howard Zinn is biased, that he's a leftist, that he's a Marxist. I wanted to show how he actually falsifies history, and I wanted to provide a tool and a resource for people to get his book out of the classroom. So just as you would not use a book by David Irving, who distorts who Hitler was and what Nazi Germany was in the classroom, you would not want to use Howard Zinn.